is a third-generation Staten Islander.
And Jenny Tango has only lived there for like 17 or 18 years, but she is a lifelong New Yorker. Right now, I'd like to present a reading of Cheap Seats at the Opera by Miss Maureen Seaberg with Interruptions by Jenny Tango.
Hello, everyone. I'm not saying Staten Island hasn't got culture. You know, that's the way we say it out there. In fact, sometimes one of my fabulous friends here once told me he likes to go to the Metropolitan Opera and sit way down front. I think that's a wonderful metaphor for life in the city, isn't it? Isn't this the opera, after all? Isn't life the opera? Didn't the people of the 7 hills of Rome migrate to the hills of Staten Island? And there is high culture there. But the Kevin Bacon game on Staten Island is how far you're removed from The Godfather, isn't it? I'm proud to say I'm so far removed, except for them hitting on me when I was younger and cute, or killing my first childhood friend's father, I swear to God, or threatening to break my legs once on a story, also true, or infiltrating our local police department to the degree that my father transferred back as fast as he could to Manhattan after a year out there trying to be close to his young kids, as to be listening by satellite radio in a remote African desert.
Well, actually, I have a different fix on the mafia because I never had any connection to them. So when I moved to Staten Island and I worked with a not-for-profit organization, I thought of a great way for them to make money. I said, why don't you have a mafia bus tour? And you bring them to say, this is where this Don lived, and this is where that Don lived, and this is where they filmed The Godfather, and then you show them the places where the bodies were. And I thought it was a great idea. For some reason, nobody took it.
You know, Jenny's a genius, and she'd probably make a fortune, and she's so nice and wonderful, they probably wouldn't even charge you the $250 a week in protection money that goes with running a business out there. You know, in fact, when people say to me, you're from Staten Island, that's where the Godfather used to live, right? I like to say, a Godfather on Staten Island? I hadn't heard. How gauche. I'm from the Staten Island, where White House Chief of Staff Leon Panetta, Bill Clinton's paisan, once lived, a good American Italian. I'm from the Staten Island where Anna Leonowens came to teach after she learned from the king in the port of Siam, because don't think he didn't teach her a thing or two. I'm from the Staten Island where both Amy Vanderbilt and Emily Post wrote on manners, believe it or not.
Oh, we don't only have the mafia here. We also have the first American-born saint's mother. And Elizabeth Bailey Seaton was the first American-born Catholic saint. And her father and sister and brother are buried here on Staten Island.
Lord have mercy. We're also from the Staten Island where revolutionaries such as Italy's Garibaldi, Hungary's Kossuth, Ireland's Jeremiah O'Donovan Rossa and Joe Cahill, Mexico's Santa Anna, Russia's Gorky, and the leader of the Falun Gong once hid. It's a place where people like to go to hide, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the leader of the Falun Gong hid in a row of identical crack townhouses on the South Shore. You know, the kind of structures where mom and dad used to say, you know, if you're drunk at night and you come home, you're going to have a hard time finding it. Which begs the question, since he was the most wanted man in China at the time, does the Red Army drink?
Well, Bush, President Bush, are you hearing this? Are you looking for Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan?
Sure, we're going to find him. You know, I'm also from the Staten Island where Indian Prime Minister, or former Prime Minister, Atal Vajpayee likes to come and attend the graduations of his friends' children wearing a proper Nehru jacket. He likes walking unmolested through Clear Lakes Park, which is an indulgence he couldn't have in, say, Mumbai or Jackson Heights. He likes renting his own videos from Monty's on Manor Road, and his two favorite titles are The Gods Must Be Crazy Now think about that, ladies and gentlemen. This is the man who had his finger on the bomb. And he worries about a culture that might worship a Coke bottle falling from the sky. His other favorite title, is The Lion King, which is a little more hopeful. And he's rented that no fewer than 10 times our mutual friend's time.
Well, there's a lot about film on Staten Island. I don't know if you know, but the original movies started in New York City and not in Hollywood. So before they moved to Hollywood, they needed a place for the cowboy and Indian, the silent cowboy and Indian films that were filmed on Staten Island. Also, some of the Perils of Maureen. So there's a big tradition of film on Staten Island, and there also are a lot of films being shown now at Wagner College. It's going to be, there's a film festival, that's the second year. So this is a film place.
Yes, and finally, Staten Island is going to star in an eponymous film called Staten Island. It's the new Ethan Hawke project, and I hear it'll start later this month.
Ethan Hawke kissed me once.
I can blame him, you know? I'm from the Staten Island, we all are, where Melville heard the stories that inspired Moby Dick, where Henry Thoreau came to tutor Ralph Waldo Emerson's children, and which boasts the only Chinese scholars garden in the United States.
Well, it's not only a Chinese scholars garden here, but 60 years ago, Jacques Marchez, I keep saying Marchez, it's Marchez, built the Tibetan Museum like a Tibetan monastery. Now think about it. How many places has a Tibetan museum that's built like a monastery or any kind of Tibetan museum? So things like this happen on Staten Island.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'll give you.
But we like you.
Thank you. Did you go to the Jacques Marais Tibetan Museum?
Yes.
All right. How many people here went?
Ever.
Ever went to it? Okay. Those of you who didn't go, you're getting a demerit, and you're going to have to work.
You see, there are many Staten Islands, and too few people with poor imaginations and in plain Spanish, lack of vision, except for Sara Valentine, getting the word out about them right now. And it's intentional, believe me, because many strange and evil things happen out there under cover of this sort of ignorance. Anyway, back to my fabulous friend. He enjoys those prime opera seats, as we all do, surrounded by social X-rays and opulence and bejeweled glitterati, and the best of manners, despite how the money that got some people there was earned. Other times, he likes to sit way up in the back, where people are sometimes unkempt and sing along and snap their gum and gush openly at the arias. Sometimes they even bump into you, these winged demons of mirth. It's nice to brush up against that kind of passion, he says. To live on Staten Island is to have cheap seats at the opera sometimes, and that's not always a bad thing.